This is it, the Champions League final. We've been going to games ever since the group stages, and now we're sat here talking about two teams, and one of them is lifting the trophy and singing, "The champions!"
Theo, I told you not to sing, but this is the biggest club championship in Europe. It's Pep Guardiola against Simone Inzaghi, isn't it, Theo?
Do you know what the rumour is? If you hit the like button, your club will win the Champions League. Whether you're Inter, whether you're City, bring the good luck. Don't forget it, or your team will be haunted.
Man City have already done the double of the
Yes.
FA Cup and the Premier League. Inter Milan just won the Coppa Italia, and we were there, weren't we, Theo?
Well, in 2010, they did the treble, exactly what City have done this season, and they're looking for their fourth Champions League. So let's not forget, they've got a history.
They've got more than history, Theo. 1964, 1965 and 2010. They've won this tournament 3 times.
Hey, Dad,
Man City...
you're that old, you probably remember those Champions Leagues, you mug.
Cheeky, less of that. Anyway, Man City have never won this tournament. 2 years ago, they got to the final.
But they've been in the final now 2 times in the last 3 years. Look about it with perspective. They are dominating European football. And this time, they've got Erling Haaland. It's not going to be like post-lockdown when they're playing Chelsea, difficult match. It's going to be in their own hands. They've had a great route to the final. They scored 3-goal margins against Bayern Munich, RB Leipzig, and Real Madrid. That's 2 massive clubs that they've smashed with 3-goal margins. But do you want to hear something interesting? When they go away from home, it's always a bit closer. In the 3 away legs, they've drew 1-1.
Listen to the bookies for a minute, because they've got Man City strong favourites, 5-11. So if you look at the bookies, Theo, City strong favourites.
And when Man City are on foreign soil, even City fans know that they can bottle it. Even Lukaku, he has a great record against Manchester City. He scored 5 goals in his career against them.
What I like to do, you go back to 2011 when these two teams last played. It was in the Dublin Super Cup. Man City 3, Inter Milan 0. Goals from Balotelli, from Dzeko, and from Adam Johnson. Let's move on.
Dzeko's still playing.
I know he is.
He might be able to score. This is actually the first ever competitive meeting. This match was in a Super Cup, but in an actual European tournament, this is when they first ever played. They've never played before, never ended up in the same group, so we could be due goals. Now, here's an interesting fact for you. The Champions League final has been decided by a 1-0 scoreline in the last 3 games, and the goal has always arrived between the 40th and the 60th minute. How weird is that? They've always been the same route.
I don't know where you come up with these facts, but let's look at Man City in a bit more detail, shall we, Theo? Because the last couple of games of the season, the Premier League season, 1 point. I saw them lose to Brentford, but let's be honest, it didn't matter by that stage.
Well, that Brentford game is the only match they've competitively lost since February, early February. And then they've gone a 26 unbeaten streak. And by the way, that Brentford game was pointless. They'd already won the Premier League. Erling Haaland, we don't need to talk about him. More goals than games, breaking all sorts of records. His final Champions League. This is an opportunity for him to put his name up in lights. His first season to win a treble in Man City. It'd be an incredible statement.
Absolutely. The Premier League, they won it by 5 points. They were cruising at the end, but the goal difference, Theo, was plus 61. That is ridiculous.
Do you think he's going to be the difference from their last 1-0 loss to Chelsea in the previous Champions League final?
I mean, we've discussed Erling Haaland in detail, haven't we, Theo? He's come in this season. I don't think he's Man City's most important player, believe it or not. I think that's Kevin De Bruyne. But he's come in, and now City are looking to win the treble for the first time. He has been astonishing. 36 goals in the league, 52 in all competitions. He is the difference.
Well, subscribe if you agree. I don't even think City will be fully dependent on Haaland. He may spread a defender away, but it opens up space for Ilkay Gundogan, De Bruyne, Grealish. It opens and creates space for the rest of them. That's why they're such a great 11.
And that is the thing about the FA Cup final, Theo. We're all talking about Haaland. We're all talking about De Bruyne. Gundogan came along and got the man of the match, got the 2 goals. That is the thing about City, like you say. You put players on Haaland and you leave those other guys.
Which is why they're so dangerous. And this is why they could be up for a treble. And even if they don't beat Inter in 90 minutes, I still back them to be one of the best teams in the Premier League era.
I look at the expected lineups for this game, and the only injury doubt is Kyle Walker, and I don't think that's a real one.
I've got an update about Kyle Walker. He wasn't in training today. However, it's nothing to do with him having an injury. It's because he wanted a rest. I saw how big of a piss-up he was on after the FA Cup. I won't go into detail, but he probably deserved that rest. So fair play, Pep Guardiola. He will be fit and ready 100% for Turkey, Dad. Don't worry. Now, you're usually fit for Turkey, knowing the look and state of your hairline. However, for the Champions League final, let's talk about Inter. What are their chances in this competition? They've been and done there before. In 2010, it was their last competition. They held it up. R9 was incredible. Do you remember that 2010 final?
I do, Theo. That was an incredible incredible year. Like we said earlier, they've won this tournament 3 times. Manager Jose Mourinho. But this is the only Italian team that's never been out of Serie A. This is the team that's won the Serie A 19 times. Do not write them off.
Especially on City's away records. They haven't had the best form when they're not playing at the Etihad, when they're not playing in England. And if we look at Inter's last 2 away legs, they won them both. Benfica, AC Milan. So they're actually good at travelling. I mean, going to San Siro isn't really travelling against Milan, but they still got the job done. If you base it off their quarter-final and semi-final results, they know how to travel. And Inzaghi, we speak about him again and again, but he's a tournament manager. He reminds me of how Italy were managed by Mancini at the Euros after lockdown. He just got the lads together, a real good amount of emotion in the camp, and I feel the same with Inter. And even in his interviews, he said, the beauty of football is that the favourites don't always win. And that's why Inzaghi is a tournament manager, because there's no 2 legs to save you. When you're out there in Turkey, in the Ataturk Stadium, thrown in the depths and the conditions of something you've never seen before, you're put to win in 90 minutes. And if you don't, you'll never get that chance again. It's kind of World Cup vibes.
Now, their recent form, like you say, Theo, last 13 games, won 11, lost 1, drawn 1. They lost to Napoli, so these are no mugs. We saw them win the Coppa Italia. What did you think of that performance?
I thought they were okay. They started going 1-0 down to Fiorentina. I think they were playing with a level of disrespect to Fiorentina at the start. They just allowed them to get into their faces a bit. So when they scored, it was a bit of a shock to them, and they got their act together. They almost went into second gear. Then Lautaro Martinez started to get the ball through. He split the Florence defence open, and he scored 2 wonderful goals and won them the Coppa Italia. It shows that Inter can, if they go a goal down to City, still do not write them off. Now, an interesting fact for you, Lukaku, his 3 Champions League goals have all come past the 80th minute. So if he's going to score, I feel like it's going to come late. I would find this game really interesting if it's going 0-0 all the way to the end. City start to feel the nerves. Lukaku gets in your face. That's when they can cause a real problem. They probably will look to strangle the game out.
Now I was watching the Coppa Italia next to you, Theo, and I thought Inter Milan was second best on the day. And I came away from that thinking Fiorentina will probably beat West Ham. And I came away from that thinking Inter Milan will lose to Man City. They made too many mistakes.
We're disrespecting how good that defence is on their day in this UEFA competition.
But Theo, looking at the 2 squads, Man City have got a squad worth over €1 billion, and the value of the Inter Milan squad is about half of that.
But it's not about
having
that.
said, it's not about that. There are half a dozen really good players. Now, Lautaro Martinez, talk to me about him.
He's special. We saw him score goals in Coppa Italia. Him and Lula, they call it Lula in Italy. Lukaku and Lautaro's link-up is special. You've got Lukaku's strength, Lautaro's pace and dribbling ability, but not just that. Lautaro has this amazing technique of being able to hold up the ball and bring other players into the game. Their tactics are very clever. They're going to play a 5-back. You're going to see Dumfries running down the right side causing problems. He's got pace. This is something that City have never come up against before. And it reminds me a little bit of the Chelsea game. The tactics that Tuchel adopted, the 5-back system, the way Tuchel slowly wanted to win the game with a 1-0. If Inzaghi can try something similar, this game might cause flashbacks. And the last time they came into a match this important as favourites, they lost. So I'm trying to say that this really is closer than what the bookies are just throwing out at you. I want to get to score predictions now, Dan. All the talk, but what do we really say?
I'm not going to underestimate Inter Milan. I don't think it's going to be a 4-0 or a 5-0. But based upon seeing Inter Milan in the flesh this season, seeing a lot of City this season, I'm going Man City 2, Inter Milan 1. They win it in 90 minutes.
Do you know why I'm kind of a bit disappointed you've said that?
You've done the same, haven't you?
I've gone for exactly the same prediction. Manchester City are going to score early, then Inter will equalise. Around the 60th minute, City will score a winner. The goal scorers will be De Bruyne, and then Lukaku will score. And John Stones with the winner. But I've just dreamt it. I've seen it. City finally pick up a Champions League. Manchester City do it. But I think it's fair to say, after all the facts that we've just delivered, Inter have a great chance, and the final is going to be unreal. But please, not another boring 1-0. That's all we ask for. We had 3 in a row now. Stop it at once. Comment down below your score predictions. We're going to give away some Mars bars to the ones that get it right. Shall we do that?
I thought you'd give them all to the Blackburn Rovers fans.
Don't remind me. I need to send some more out. See you in a bit. Bye-bye.